Boss RT-2 rotary ensemble on the bench today. This takes their compact pedal form and slaps in not one, but 3 different rotary speaker modes in here. Furthermore, you can engage the foot switch with the classic Boss foot switch, but when you press it and hold it, it will let you select between 2 different speeds on the rotary emulation. Furthermore, it will smoothly ramp between them. You've got this center light on here to give you a visual indicator of how fast the rate of the pedal is on there, and a concentric pot over here that lets you set the fast and slow rate over there. So if I press it and hold it again, you'll see that it gradually slows down. Then on the left, you've got a level and a drive control on there. It's really, really straightforward. You can select between the 3 modes with this little switch over here, and I would say that's probably going to be set and forget for a lot of people. We'll have a listen to the difference between the 3 modes on there, but this thing wobbles, and I love that. I used to own the RT-20, the dual pedal, back in the day, and I really liked that one. However, I moved it on because I found myself basically at the time never thinking that I would need a rotary sound. It was a really cool pedal, but I was like, I will never use a rotary emulation on a recording. And how wrong I was, because a good rotary tone is one of my go-to sounds, especially when I'm doing overdubs in the studio to add some subliminal texture or to really highlight a part. And it is an integral part of my live sound with Ragdoll because I use it to try to emulate an organ or a keyboard for some parts. So let's see what we can get out of this. Fender Ultra Luxe Vintage. I'm going into the RT-2 and I'm coming out in stereo into a pair of the Dumble ODS clean amp models in my Axe FX3 with my free IR in stereo. Let's have a listen to the bypass tone. Now, I like that each of those three modes is giving you a subtle variation on that core tone in there. However, mode 3, you can hear when you've got some drive in there, really gets grindy, and you can use that for kind of faux organ sounds on there. It can do the Trower style uni-vibe tone on there. It can get super wobbly. It can get pretty subtle on there. I really like it in front of a big dirty amp on here as just like a subtle character tone on there for single notes. Let's say we had something like this for our rhythm tone, and then I'll turn it on with the slow mode on the slowest rate over here, just to add a bit of sauce to some lead lines. I love that they've been able to capture all the old functionality of the RT-20 in a compact pedal. Furthermore, I think they've much improved the overall tone and those extra modes on there and the ease of operation on this. It's a Boss pedal, and it's a really good sounding Boss version of the rotary. I like that you've also got stereo inputs on here. You know, you could combine this with another modulation pedal, or you could put this after stereo reverb or delay if you wanted to, or if you wanted to use this on keyboards and you had a stereo output, that would work really nicely as well. Furthermore, you can attach an expression pedal on here and control the rate manually that way on there. There's one riff that I haven't played yet on here that I have just come to associate with the sound of a rotary speaker. So I'll just play you a little bit of Pink Floyd, Us and Them, on a very 80s shredder style guitar. There are no rules with any of this stuff. Remember that. Big thank you to Boss for sending this one out to me so that I can check it out. I'll put a link in the video description. If you want to check out my music or you want to check out the Patreon, that is all linked in the video description. You can hear a bunch of rotary sounds on the Ragdoll Back to Zero album as well, because I use that for a lot of overdubs. But for now, let's do a little bit of Us and Them, and I'll see you on the next one.